We're here, we're in Southlake, Texas. We are joined by Alan Muellegger. I said Muellegger, right?
Yep.
Alan Muellegger. And we are excited for y'all today. We have a lot of amazing things to talk about. And I'm just gonna get this session started in prayer. So take a second. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for this day as we are heading into Easter. Let us be cognizant of all the ways that you are working in our lives. I thank you for my friend Alan. I thank you for just bringing us together in a seemingly random way, but we know that things are not random because you are always working. Thank you for his safe voyage from Austin to Dallas. I want to set intention over our conversation. I pray that it reaches the right people that need to hear what we have to share. I pray that anything that is not from you be cast down and fall on deaf ears. But I pray that the things that we say that ring true, I pray that they stick in the hearts and minds of everyone who is listening. I want to bless over our friendship. We know in Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another. Keep us sharp. Keep us grounded, keep us together, and let our friendship constantly point each other towards you. Make us more like Christ. I pray that our time can be fruitful, and I pray that anyone listening can learn something, not from me, not from Alan, but from how great you are. I pray that the rest of our time can be all the things that you desire it to be. And I pray that you get Alan safely back to Austin for him to make groundbreaking impact in the future difference makers of our world. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Jack, your prayer is always so powerful, like noteworthy powerful. Like every time that we have prayed together and then you've led, there's always been this just like really beautiful feeling of like serenity, calm, gratitude.
Yeah.
I just really want to acknowledge you for that, man. Like,
thanks, Alan.
You're an extraordinary like prayer leader.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's I grew up Catholic, so I never knew how to organically pray.
Yeah.
That's something that the Protestants do a really good job of, is just speaking from the heart, and Catholics will recite prayers like the Our Father, the Hail Mary, they pray a rosary. So they'll literally go around in a rosary just like reciting. And now when I pray, I don't do any of that. I pray from a very deep personal and relational part of my connection to God. And I begin by rooting in my breath and just like preparing my vessel to connect to God. And then when I pray, it's weird. I have an out-of-body experience when I pray, where I feel like your energy and my energy are like in like a dark sort of just field. And we're just like in presence with our Heavenly Father. And I just really like root in my breath, and then I just like let go. Like I literally just like let go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love praying with people. I'm glad you appreciate it. But yeah, so y'all, we are blessed today to have Alan as a guest. He comes from Austin. He grew up in the Midwest, and now he's an honorary Texan. So Alan and I met through Montana, who you guys got to see last week. And after Montana and I spoke, she was like, Jack, you have to connect with Alan. You have to have him on. You're going to love him. And so I shot Alan quick DM, slid into his DMs, and we hopped on the phone ASAP, like I think later that day.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't going to just let him on to talk. Like I was definitely going to have to vet him out first. As much as we love Montana, I had to make sure that this was legit. And we went very hard, very fast in a way that's like almost like you do with like a heated romantic relationship. There's nothing romantic going on here. But in that similar, just to give you guys a depiction of like how quickly we like assimilated and acclimated to a point of rapport was uncanny. And I have a tendency to do that with people, but with you, it was matched and reciprocated, and it also didn't feel like it was misplaced. Or sometimes in the past, I've gone too fast, too quickly with people, and it was completely aloof. I felt like ours is very natural given where we are in life and what we're currently doing and working on and all those things. So I'm really honored to share this space with Alan, and then this video for y'all. What Alan works on now is essentially helping individuals crystallize their purpose. Purpose is so important, right? I mean, it's something that most Americans don't have the privilege to even self-actualize and contemplate because they don't have the monetary means to be in a place of self-actualization. They're so focused on getting rent paid, getting food on the table, like just surviving. That this concept of purpose and higher level thinking is not one that they're even capable of actualizing. If you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what he specializes on is the top of that pyramid. And man, another thing that I was extremely skeptical about was, he claims that he's going to help you find your purpose and not only find it, but crystallize it if you already have it. I was like, okay, that sounds kind of bullshit. Like we all see these like coaches and you know what I mean? Like these like Tai Lopez's of the internet. And I was extremely skeptical. And so after we talked, I felt the energy was palpable, and we scheduled a one-on-one through Zoom. And Alan transformed my view of purpose. Like and right now I feel like I'm pretty freaking grounded in what my purpose is. Like I feel like I know what I'm trying to do with my life, and I feel content in that. And you took it to the next level. So I am a huge fan of what you do in your work. You are in the business of helping people be their best selves. You want to be your best self. You want me to be my best self. Like you are someone that does what you say. You practice what you preach, and you are going to make a difference, and you are going to encourage a future generation of difference makers as well. So I'm honored to host you in my home. And Alan, why don't you just talk a little bit more about what you do? Obviously, it's brand new, and you're still adopting and forming and changing messaging and whatnot. But just for anyone watching that's interested, oh wow, like that's like I want to have purpose in my life, or I think I know what my purpose is, but I need to understand that better. Tell us more about your line of work.
So purpose, and it's one of these things that right off the bat, purpose isn't something that is a mission statement. It's not a thing that you acquire and you now have in your back pocket. Like examples, like when somebody, when they're like, the purpose of my life is, and they say this thing they've clearly rehearsed 100 times over, but then you just watch the energy drop out as they, slowly say it. What I help people do is not like find this statement or find this like this thing that I'll latch onto. I found that purpose is actually, purpose has nothing to do with that. Purpose is actually a path. And it's this thing that we're always on. It's just a matter of how fast are you running in the direction you're being called. And how attached are you to that direction. And so, or connected to it, if you will. So for me, it's less about helping somebody find their purpose and more find their path and how to consistently be walking that and not get distracted. Because in today's world, especially, like the amount of distraction that we have, it's absolutely insane. Like the most addictive substances in the world are no longer drugs, it's apps. And like in those apps, especially like now you have, if you're not going to get addicted to an app that is designed to identify what will keep you coming back, your vice, your particular flavor of distraction, whether that's fear, whether it's comedy, whether it doesn't matter what it is, to find that within minutes now. I mean, seconds, really.
Yeah, the algorithms program.
It's intense. But on top of that, if you get away from the apps, then you'll go and hop into the media, which is constantly showing you things that are designed to get you to be afraid. So you're constantly reaching and searching for more from them. It's just like today, in my opinion, if you don't have the thing that is going to keep you pulled forward and focused amidst all of these very hungry objects that are designed to pull you away from what you are meant to do, you fall apart and you fall behind.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that because I've shared this before, but a year ago today, I was like thoroughly depressed.
Yes.
I was a slave to all those distractions. Like my life consumed of a lot of TikTok, a lot of Instagram, a lot of YouTube, a lot of chess.com, a lot of reality television, and it consumed me. Like my life was distraction.
Yes.
And how I felt inside was like an absolute whirlwind.
Yeah.
An absolute whirlwind. And the benefit that the distractions provided was I wasn't focused on the whirlwind. So I wasn't even
Yes.
brought into the chaotic state of my soul.
Yes.
And it became a cycle of escapism.
Yes.
To where now and this year, like God bless, like I'm so grateful for the growth I've had this year, but this year everything is aligned with purpose. If
Yes.
I'm doing something and it is not aligned with purpose, I don't even tune into it. Like everything that I consume, if there's anything going on in my environment, if the TV's playing in my house and I don't feel like that's upping my vibration, I turn it off. Like my mom this morning sent me an article of a girl who was murdered in Austin. And I just responded, I'm not going to read that. Like that's terrible. And I have sympathy and sadness for that. But why am I going to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long the article is, consuming that and bringing me down?
Yeah.
I don't know her. I don't need to like really dive into that emotionally intense experience, you know?
Yes.
We have to own our peace. We have to own our strength. You have to take very seriously because like you said, we're in this world right now where the stakes are graver than ever.
Yes.
And the distractions and resistance
Yes.
is stronger than ever. So we have to be strong.
Yes. Well, the hard part is like you mentioned being strong, and it's like, yes, we need to be strong, and those forces are so powerful today that, and this is where my urgency comes from, right? It's why we're having this conversation. It's why right now, if there's any human that is willing to listen, that is willing to dive into a conversation with me, I get obsessed with serving, because yes, we have to be strong, and the forces around us are so good and so powerful at keeping that whirlwind going, keeping us distracted from the pain that's happening inside that would normally drive creation. So example, pain has 3 gifts that it gives us. The first is clarity. So pain, it forces us in a moment to get clear on the questions or the solutions that we have been putting off. So as an example, I run an event called Purpose Launch, and the purpose of that event is to really provide a transformational experience where someone in that time, not only will they identify what their purpose is or how to attach to that, but we ingrain it in the nervous system. We make sure they walk away. There's no way that is not going to be right at the front of their focus for the rest of their life. In that event, I was running it. And the third time I ran it, I kept believing the BS story that I didn't quite have clarity on my frameworks. And I allowed that to get into my space to where I was driving the event, but I wasn't obsessed with delivering my outcome. Instead, I was wanting to prove to myself that I had the ability to hold the space for the room and read the room and say what needed to be said through, just feeling them and experiencing them. The problem is that is a selfish preoccupation.
Yeah.
I was doing that to prove it to myself.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the event, as I'm speaking into everybody's pains and challenges, the equivalent of what I can describe it was, at the end of that event, the whole room, they felt like their chest had been opened by a surgeon.
And not put back together.
But not put back together.
Yeah.
And the pain that I felt from that was massive. It
Yeah.
was 2 days of powerful shame, powerful guilt. And from that powerful shame and guilt came this obsession over, screw this, I'm going to find a way to identify the frameworks that are going to lead people, that I know that if I open them up, I can create the solution, create the change. I will not accept another answer. And from that came the whole framework that I now use. That's the staple of everything that I do. That now when I deliver it to people, and I've delivered it to you, it's like people go, holy shit, this is it. This is everything. And I'm like, yeah, but it came from immense amounts of pain. So pain clarifies is the first gift.
Yeah.
The second gift that pain gives us is it gives us perspective. It gives us an understanding or an appreciation for that which is so great. Without pain, we would just constantly be surrounded by pleasure, and we would have zero appreciation for it. But when we have pain, we realize, oh wow, I really should be grateful for every time I take a breath.
Yeah.
Or I really should be grateful
It's a reminder.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so that's the second thing it gives us, the ability to appreciate that which is good. Yeah. And I find that the more that I attend to or appreciate that which is good, I experience more of it and receive more of it.
Absolutely. Law of attraction.
The last thing it gives us is the ability to course correct, the ability to make a difference, because ultimately pain has an ultimate purpose, and it's to let us know that something needs to change.
Yeah.
And that is it.
That's it.
And so with pain, that to me is like where these apps and these substances, whatever it is, these vices, they insulate people from being able to experience that valuable pain. Valuable pain.
Yeah, we need pain.
Yes.
It's about finding the right kind of pain. And I just to respond a little bit to what you said, I think what's such a testament to Alan is when he failed and he felt the weight of his failure, his response was one of resolve. Like, that's who you want on your team. That's who you want on your corner. Like, that's how we want to be, right? I mean, we all experience failure, and it's hard.
Yes,
it hurts. It can be very dark.
Yes,
and there's a fight or flight response.
Totally.
And you fought, and you found, and now you share. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. So I just want to say good on you for that.
I really appreciate that. Well, it didn't come without doing the opposite thing for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like again, pain allows us to let us know something needs to change. I did for a very long time, received plenty of pain and numbed out for years. Like there was a time in my life where I was drinking 6 to 8 drinks a night and smoking weed and occasionally doing coke. There was a really powerful desire in every way, and playing video games constantly, like all these things. Like
what games?
Oh, they were, dude. I mean, mostly like role play games, but it was like honestly, there was. If I look back at myself, first of all, if you would have seen me 2 years ago, you would have seen a completely different man. Like same skin, completely different habits.
Yeah, same.
All the things, right? And so what ended up happening is like you can only numb yourself out so much before everything falls apart, and it did. Like my whole life fell apart in the most painful of ways, spiritually, emotionally, physically.
Yeah.
And it is from that the resolve came, where it's like, well, shit, if I've had a whole life of avoiding pain and not using it, I might as well create resolve and find the clarity.
Yeah. Pain, it's a beautiful, ironic thing. And I just, as you were talking about your own process through pain, I just think of the story of Christ. He goes through the most pain possible. I just think it's such a worthy time to bring this up as we head into Holy Week and Easter on Sunday.
Yeah.
Christ spends his whole lifetime giving to the poor, healing the sick, caring for the lame, preaching a message of love. And at the climax, the pinnacle, the end of his life, what does he experience? the exact opposite of his entire testament. He experiences the deepest, darkest pain. It begins with the betrayal of one of his closest friends. We've all been betrayed. We've all had trust broken. We've all been hurt in that way. But imagine being betrayed in a way where your life was sold away. Like, more than like your girlfriend cheated on you or your friend talked crap behind your back, but your friend sold you like a slave to be brutally crucified. And it's like one of your boys, like one of the people in your inner circle.
Yeah.
So first he goes through that emotional trial of being completely sold away. Then he has to face thousands of people who he just spent healing, praising, helping, and they're all screaming and claiming for his murder, his death. And he has to look at all of these people. Like, we always feel like, oh, like now that we're making content, like, oh, we experience hate comments. Like one person just making one hate comment.
Yeah.
Imagine looking out, and this is not a screen, but like a crowd of people saying, crucify him about you.
Yes.
So social isolation. He experiences that pain, right? Then he experiences the most brutal physical pain that you can imagine, like that you could go through. He wears a crown of thorns on his head. He's whipped with lashes on his back, bleeding, and then he's ultimately nailed through his skin to a wooden plank and hangs until he asphyxiates and dies. All of that. He goes through all of that pain. And it's not even for him. He doesn't even need to do that. But he does it for you, for me, for all of humanity. He does that to show us that death is not the answer of this simulated life that we find ourselves in. That hate and pain is not the answer of this simulated life. That through belief in Christ, belief in that testament of love, it's not the answer, and it's seen not in his death, but 3 days later, it's seen as he comes back to life again to demonstrate for the world that there is power in love. And we are seeing so transformationally how pain can bring about the purest light in Christ Jesus.
Wow.
So if you feel like you're going through pain, it sucks. It's supposed to. But it doesn't end there. It's transformed.
Yes.
And it can be a beautiful thing.
Yes.
I'm going to check the video real quick to make sure we are still good. Yeah, we're good. We're 24 minutes in. All right. All right, Alan. So you're kind of a master at what you do. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. He's good at what he does. What he does is he takes people, and your skill of intuition is uncanny. I've never seen a man so intuitively skilled. You take people that you've never met. You get a limited amount of information, maybe a couple paragraphs, and you crystallize purpose like this. You go boom, bang, firepower, here's your purpose. And it's crystal, it's ready to go. Now, all right. I believe in you. I do. I believe in you. But you work with a lot of people, and purely mathematically speaking, the chances of you being able to take random person, not random, but unique person, limited information, and crystallized purpose is very difficult. And I know you do this, you work with people and you don't charge them anything. Like at the beginning, it's an getting to know the person, and that's something that you just provide to help people. but have you ever been wrong? Like, have you ever met someone and said, this is your purpose? And they're like, no, it's not. And you're like, ugh. Has that ever happened?
So absolutely yes. And what I'll share is that in the what I will say is, thankfully, in the one-on-ones and like the first time I meet somebody, when I say, you know, if we talk about right or wrong, it's important to know that someone's purpose, it comes by a way of what shift they are here to bring in the hearts of humanity, in the hearts of others. And that particular shift, I've noticed in the work that I've done, there's an ultimate shift, one that person is like lit up by at the highest level. And then there's a succession of shifts that lead up to that point. So for me, I've always been able to find the person's ultimate shift. And if I can't find the ultimate shift, then one of the successors or one of the ones that it's time to focus on this right now. And thankfully in that particular thing, finding that, not yet have I found myself in a position where I'm like, ooh, I totally blew it. However,
it's not that you blow it, you just miss source and then you have to recalibrate.
Yes.
I'm not saying you totally, I just mean like you guess wrong.
Yeah, so that happened then. Okay, so in that case, yes, that happens all the time. Guessing wrong happens all the time, where I'll see a particular thing, and what I notice is that when my ego is in the play, when my personal preoccupations, my personal projections, my personal traumas, triggers, whatever you want to call it, when that is present, unfortunately, I'll create something or I'll see something that is contaminated with that. Yeah. And so I don't get off a call until the things are found. I just am obsessive with it. And I've had many times where I'll say, how does this feel? And I can see it on that person's body. They're like, it kind of feels like it's right. And I'm like, that's not it. And I immediately know, like, I brought something into the space. We're not quite there yet. And so I have to ask questions and understand and also let go of self. And you said something earlier that was really important when you were praying. You mentioned, I totally let go, is something you said when you begin to pray. And that is exactly what it is in my experience as well, is that it's not a practice of me doing something.
You're channeling, you're not acting.
I'm completely letting go of everything and any and all expectations of myself and the other person, and just being present with them and allowing their body, their signals, their language, their inflections, their pacing, their everything is where I pull it.
Do you do anything to prepare yourself for this, or is it something you just naturally do? Like when you before your meetings with people, do you have any sort of like prepping of like yourself to not be in the ego, to not be, just to make sure you're optimized for that session, or do you just kind of go in?
Yeah. So for the outside looking in, if someone were to watch me do this, it looks like I just go in. But the reality is I have a daily practice of like the first 4 hours of my day are designed to get me out of my ego, designed for me to release emotional traumas, release those things. So yes, I do prepare, but I prepare for the day, not the call, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to acknowledge in you immediately that you asked me earlier. You said if you notice anything about me, to like let you know. And what I have to share with you in reflection, so that you have this, is, Jack, you have this extraordinary ability to recount and describe and express the teachings of the Bible, the Word of God, in such a way that it is not just words, that it is an experience. And that is so powerfully, intensely rare. In today's world especially, it is not with what we know that allows change to occur.
It's the heart.
It's what we experience. And so human beings who have the ability to cultivate and experience must give that experience to those who are ready and willing to have it. So my sincerest and most intense encouragement to you is that if you're not guest speaking in churches, I'm serious. I'm dead freaking serious. If you're not guest speaking and sharing the word of God with congregations, there is massive miss in your ability to transfer very important information.
So thank you for saying that. Part of my issue is I actually think church is better when experienced in a more intimate way. Like, I think on Sunday I like to meet with people, like cap it at like 15 people, and I like to meet like in a circle where everyone can be known and shared. So like, and when I read the Bible, like that's how Jesus spoke, was like around in an intimate setting with people. It wasn't. I think church today has become so ostentatious in production and performative, to where it loses the essence of God, because God is subtle and he works in the most profound ways, and it's not about the show. It's not yes, he can invoke emotional highs, but it's not about residing in the emotional highs. It's about doing the work. So
I hear that.
I appreciate you saying that.
And I'm gonna interject and really double down on this here. Yes, that is what the churches do, and that is what religious institutions are like today, without question. That's why you come in and guest speak.
Yeah.
Because when you deliver that experience, it will create a shock in people's system. It will create a shock in the congregation that is used to production, used to flashy lights, used to BS sermons, and not to bash anybody's sermons, but the way that you present that information, Jack, is shocking, and that's shock is one of the most important things that a man can produce. Yeah. So it
changes.
Yes.
It creates impact. Yeah. No, I mean
it creates a pattern interrupt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like someone I'm telling you right now, someone is going to show up to
disruption is the word.
Let's say there's a congregation of 1,000 people. Okay?
Yeah.
And they're planning to show up to experience the same old service they've had 100 times over.
Yeah.
Okay. Where there's some music, there's hands go in the air, praise God, we're singing, here comes my person, the donation plate, all right, great, or the donation QR code nowadays. And then all of a sudden, it's like, here comes the sermon from the person. That whole thing is something that is run in those people's hearts every single Sunday, and they are likely programmed to be a certain way, think a certain way, feel a certain way about it every time. But if you came in, the way that you deliver is so shockingly powerful, so fast, it would take somebody out of that pattern. It would take 1,000 people all at one time out of that pattern. Yeah. And I cannot express to you how important that is for you to know.
No, I appreciate you saying that. It's something I humbly don't feel that anyone. I humbly don't feel that. First, what I have to say or offer, that anyone is incapable of finding themselves. That's the first thing I want to say. Is that I am a staunch believer that we are all capable of finding God ourselves, and we need to live our spiritual life ourselves, and seek Him ourselves. That's the biggest thing. And when I do perform services for people, and I've only done like 1 and 2 people, like I haven't done like anything crazy, I try to be very real and authentic and just get into the word and just have like a super open conversation about how we can be more like Christ. That's it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's something that I would love to do, honestly, but it's also something that I don't know if I think I'm worthy to do. I think I'm getting better. I think I'm becoming more and more like Christ. I'm trying to, but I don't know. So maybe someday.
May I pose a challenge to you?
Yeah.
We are not in the times in our current day and age where we can afford to wait for you to feel worthy before you start doing the thing. That's not where we are anymore.
Yeah.
Like really, I mean, this is for you guys too. This is important for you to hear. The world is going to absolutely destabilize the next 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
The way of being 2 years ago and backwards, we had the ability, we had the luxury of being able to contemplate and being able to set and study and sit back to cultivate a strong way of being before we acted. That is not the world that we are in today. That changed.
Yeah.
It changed. I would say, I mean, it's been changing, but like we have the BRICS alliance. We have the dollar being divorced, and now the yuan is being adopted as the primary currency of which that oil is exchanged.
Yeah.
Like
it's disrupting the entire world order. Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah. And I am a huge advocate of making all decisions based in love and not in fear. And the decision to not pursue would be a result of my own fear.
Yes.
And the decision to pursue would be one based in love, because I love doing this and I love sharing love. And that's essentially how the only reason I believe in Jesus is because I believe Jesus is love. If I didn't, then I wouldn't believe in Jesus. So, yeah, I think you're spot on. I have no idea how I'm going to get there. That's the fun part of trying to figure out how that's materialized and actualized.
Yeah.
Currently, I've just been doing content, and I've been exponentially growing, and that's been really cool, because the whole reason I'm doing content is because I don't have a church or an organization backing me.
Yeah.
So it gives me a field to reach people,
yes,
masses of people.
Yes.
I had a TikTok hit 80,000 people, trying to catch up to this guy. This guy had like 250,000, but that's a big deal, especially when my content is around praying for people.
Yeah.
You know, like it's something so near and dear to my heart. So, yeah, we'll see. And I am glad that you're on my team to help me with that mission, because it is an audacious one. Obviously, that's why I feel fear about tackling it.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful for you and so many other people that are a part of this mission that I'm really investing in.
Yeah. So just for some reinforcement, what I'd like is if you're watching this right now and you believe in Jack's ability to be able to share the word in such a way that it is experiential and that you encourage him to continue to expand upon his platform of which he does that, I just want you to put the word serve in the comment section. So just put serve if you believe it, seriously, because it's something that, like, I hear the fear here, and I have faith that the people who watch this, they know you, they follow you, and they believe in you. That's why they're watching.
Yeah.
So put serve in the comment section if you believe.
I'm blushing. All right, next topic. Oh man, thank you for saying that. I just, yeah, I don't know what to say. I am for once speechless.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about coaching a little more. So, yeah. You already mentioned how you found your purpose crystallization. I think a lot of people watching are interested in coaching. It's something that has I think been there's been exponential growth in the coaching space with the advent of the internet.
Yes.
Because you can now reach so many people, and you can coach people remotely. So you're really not bound by anything. And people love coaching because they're able to help people. Like, we all want to help people.
Yes. So
there's probably a lot of people listening that are interested in these new online businesses going viral on TikTok. Yeah. All of this. I would love to hear your advice for anyone watching who's thinking, I'd love to be a coach. There's passions that I have and maybe some expertise, but I'm also 24, 22, 29, 35, whatever, however old we are watching, or I'm in college trying to study things, or wherever, right? And so I don't feel like I'm an expert because I haven't gone deep really with anything yet. And there's also that fear, the same way that I had fear about preaching, like there's fear of, man, can I really tell someone else what to do with their life? Like, am I the expert? So self-doubt is something that I feel like all coaches might struggle with or might need to overcome in order to be an effective coach. So how can anyone watching find what to coach someone in?
Sure, that's a great question. So first of all, this is a topic that I'm honestly very passionate about. Coaching, I think, the reality of coaching, and this may shock people, but coaching has gotten a really bad name because there are a lot of people who don't know what the F they're talking about coaching. So for me, and what's happened is people are doing a lot of talking and repeating what they've heard from other motivational speakers or other motivational people. And what I will say first and foremost is that if someone has a calling to be a coach, it cannot be that yes, it's helpful when you've been impacted by another coach or by a speaker and you want to do the same for others.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And coaching today especially is, if someone wants to make it through the next 5 to 6 years, there's going to be a flood of coaches that enter the marketplace.
Yeah.
And so I really do believe the only person who's going to make it, the only people that are going to make it in this time are people who are truly embodied, service-led people. You cannot be a talker. You must be a beer.
Yeah, shower.
Yes.
Yeah.
You must. There's no other way.
Okay. So that's a good groundwork of honestly, that's just a good framework for how to live life.
Yes.
But how do you figure out what to coach?
Yeah. So for me, the start for me when I was coaching other people's businesses. There are so many, you'd be surprised. There are so many coaching companies today that coach people on various things, whether it's helping people move their businesses from in-person to online, or if it's marketing coaches or whatever. A really common job title is accountability coaches. So there are a lot of really phenomenal coaches who are embodied, that they've grown to the point where they need a staff, and they hire accountability coaches to insulate them from the accountability work. So I personally recommend, first and foremost, if that's a calling for you, is to find a way to be consistently doing that through somebody else's business. Because if you go out and do your own thing first, you don't have a proving ground and a testing ground. So one of the things I talk about in my frameworks is there's 3 things that really create someone's North Star. The first is the shift that they're here to bring in the world and identifying what that is. The second is identifying their gifts and skills and knowing the difference between the two. The third is the vehicle, the delivery system of which that amplifies their gifts and skills so that their shift can be delivered.
Yes.
And if you feel a call to coaching, it's likely that speaking, asking questions, guiding somebody, noticing something about them that they're not noticing. There's something about that process. There's something about that particular vehicle that you work really well in. And so the process of identifying what vehicle works best for you, and by the way, vehicle is not just what you're doing, it's also the frameworks of which that you use. It's the strategies, the process, it's all of those. The only way to get clarity on your vehicle is execution. And so if you're not going to go and run your own business and put it all on the line, you don't have something so clear that it's this is what I want to coach people with, which I didn't, and be clear, I consider myself a very powerful coward. I didn't go out and start my own business in coaching until I was 100% certain this is what I want to coach the world on. I must do this. There is no other option.
Yeah.
But until that point, I was coaching in other people's businesses, getting the reps in, learning what worked and what didn't, trying this person's framework, trying that person's framework, and then being discovered my own thing. So
it sounds like what you're saying. This is how I'm interpreting.
Yeah.
Is first you have to decide you want to be a coach.
Yes.
And then when you decide you want to be a coach, you learn by doing.
Yes.
Trial and error. Does that sound right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's an actionable way for you guys to figure out how you're going to coach people. Something I wanted to point out with what Alan just said was that I find beautiful. I find the most beautiful things in life are the ironies of life. We already talked before about pain. But something that's beautiful is Alan's a coach, but he doesn't give feedback. And he doesn't want people to give him feedback. And it blew my mind because I love feedback personally. Like I ask for feedback from my friends. I give my friends probably too much feedback, but I give my friends a lot of feedback. And one of the things that how you changed my life in the most ways was like, Jack, friendly challenge. Don't give me feedback. And I won't. And I responded by saying, okay, like, did I do something wrong? But then I also responded by saying, but I want you to give me feedback constantly, unprovoked and unsolicited. Yeah. And you responded by saying, if I did that, that would be a disservice to you. And this is a coach. He's a coach. So he's saying he's not going to give me feedback because that would be a disservice to me. And he's a coach. Like, that's crazy, you know, but it's so ironic, but it's beautiful. Yeah. Because what Alan sees is that he provides feedback when the time is right. Yeah. He makes sure that the person that he's talking to finds the solution themselves. Because if he just says, Jack, do this, it's not as meaningful. In fact, as human beings, if I say, hey, go wash the dishes, go do your homework, that's the last thing you want to do. I don't know why we're programmed like that, yeah. But we want. I think, you know why? I think it's because we want to own our lives. We want to really live and intentionally live. And when someone else tells us what to do, it takes away the freedom that we are so much desire. So what you do is you curate these scenarios for people to find solutions themselves. Yes. And it's the most effective way to coach. It's an ironic way to coach. So you guys are getting some Coaching Insider 101. But Alan, you're in Austin.
Yes.
How long have you been in Austin?
Been in Austin since June of last year. There is one thing I wanted to share with that, is the difference between feedback and advice. And so, because feedback, to be clear, I want feedback all the time. I want to give people feedback as much as I can. Feedback is the only way that we can understand how we are different from others. We will never know how we're different from others if others don't tell us how we're different. Yeah. And so feedback is important, but advice is different. So sharing instruction, sharing this is what I believe you should do. It's a subtle difference, but advice is one of those things that if we're constantly giving advice, what I've noticed is that and this is, by the way, because I used to be this person, I used to be constantly giving advice all the time. And what I notice is that when we give advice unsolicited, it falls on deaf ears. Yeah. But when we get the person to the point where our embodiment has challenged their world so heavily that they go, how do you do that? Yeah. That is the moment they're ready for it. Yeah, then you hit it. Yep. Yes. So I just wanted,
No, it's good. Okay, so you've been in Austin for about a year, a little less than a year.
A little less than a year.
Have you seen the magic?
I mean, yeah, I have. So I was in the Bay Area beforehand, and I said it in this way. So I love the Bay Area because it has all the topography you can imagine. Mountains, beach, doesn't matter. It's all there. And what I share with friends, they said, how do you like Austin? Like, are you enjoying it? I said, honestly, you know, what I lost in topography, I gained in community. Yeah. There is great community. It's amazing there. Like, yeah. The beautiful part about it is if you go anywhere in Austin, anywhere, and you ask people what they do, the likelihood that they do it online and the likelihood that they themselves are entrepreneurs is so high. Yeah. And they're all doing amazing things. Like I was just at a
true.
Yes. I was at a meetup the other day and this guy like pitched his business. It was a business pitch event. So like, stuff like this happens in Austin where you gotta be in this space. I was not pitching. I was just observing. This guy pitched his company and they have an AI engine that is designed to take biometrics and signals and all this kind of stuff from athletes to predict to do preventative maintenance on their body before the problems ever come up. Like months and months.
I would sign up for that.
It's so cool. Like that's the kind of stuff that's happening in Austin. Is these really forward thinking.
That's insane.
Yes, incredible. So
wow. I didn't think that was possible.
Yes, the top coaches are there. The top technology. I mean, it's a place where young people are going, or young people in age or young people in spirit are going to change the world, and it's a really cool place to be.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna move there. We'll see. Regardless, I'm preparing my heart and my spirit because I was just there a couple weekends ago, and man, man, the experience I had there was unlike any that I've had here. It was one of my best weekends I've ever had. But so much is happening and integrating that like I have to be ready if I'm going to live there full time again. It was insane. But yeah, Alan. So we talk a lot about spirituality, God, love,
Yes.
and just on this platform. And I think one of the most helpful ways that we can deepen our own concept of God and love is to hear it from others. Mm-hmm. So I would love for you to share, if you feel comfortable sharing, your just details about your own spiritual practice, how you view God, any religious practices you have, how that's changed over time, and where you're at now.
That's a great question. So, first of all, I'm the person who renounced God heavily and powerfully for years, and I did still all the way up until I would honestly say like a year and a half ago. And my reintroduction or even just my first introduction into God, into universe, into source, was honestly in meeting the woman that I'm madly in love with. She, like, there was something so beautiful, spiritually, divinely gorgeous about her.
Yeah.
It's like,
were you able to ascertain that without being spiritual?
Yes.
Huh. So maybe you were a little bit, or it was dormant.
Well, yeah, I was beginning to, so as I was in this journey, I was beginning to call it universe.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people today, I think they call God the
universe, yeah.
Or source. And so I was calling it that. So I was, because I was beginning to catch on, like, when I'm serving people, it's not coming from my brain.
Yeah.
It's coming through somewhere else. It's being, it's like that kind of thing, right? It's coming through my heart. And so I was open to the possibility of there being something greater than myself. And then when I met her and began to experience her in all of her divinity, it was like, I remember there was a day we were walking in the park, and we were just discussing and chatting, and she shared with me how us meeting was almost not going to happen by like one small circumstance that changed. She was calling a job to get an offer for a job. It was between the company that we met in and one other company, and she wanted the other company, and she called that guy, and it just so happened he didn't answer. And then 5 minutes later, this job called, offered her the job, and she happened to take it, and not this one. And there was a whole bunch of other stuff that came up before that. And her and I met through that company. And all of a sudden, when I just started to feel and see all the little things, and she had this whole story of how it happened. When I saw all the little things about how, oh my God, we almost didn't meet. In fact, it was written that we shouldn't have met in multiple points in her journey. But then to experience her divinity in the way that I did, I literally remember falling to my knees and crying involuntarily. Just like
when you met her?
No, this was when we were walking through a park in San Francisco.
After you were dating for
okay,
not the first time you met.
No, not the first time. That'd be wild. Oh my God! They just like see her, bam, like that. But because it was a slow burn, right? It wasn't something that happened all of a sudden out of nowhere. And when I became present to her, not just present to her beauty, but present to the organization around it and how intelligent that organization was, how gorgeous I find her, like in such a way where I am helpless to serve that woman.
Wow.
It was like I remember the thought being
that's crazy. That's love.
Yes. And I was like,
I have not experienced that for a woman in my life.
It's breathtaking. And when I saw that level of experience, when I felt that in my body, I was like, I remember thinking explicitly, if that isn't God, I don't know what is. Like it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
That level of love. So she honestly, it was our meeting that it made it so powerfully undeniable that I could not deny it any longer.
Yeah.
And today, do I pray to God every single day? Do I, read the Bible and all these things? I don't. And I am very aware that what I'm doing is I'm serving people's hearts at the highest level as passionately and obsessively as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm also very aware that as I'm doing that, I'm being taken care of. There have been plenty of times where I ran out of money or my card ran out, and then the next day I get a check that I shouldn't have gotten or whatever, like stuff like that, right? Like I become aware that I'm being taken care of. So, am I one of these people that will go around and say, that will preach the word and that will speak to that? I won't.
Yeah.
However, do I? And I think the reason I won't is honestly because a lot of people it's so sad today. But like as soon as you say the word God, or as soon as you say the word energy, like they just invalidate everything.
They tune out, yeah.
Right. And my outcome is to be able to meet people where they are, and also understand the hurt they have. Like some people have really deep, quote unquote, religious wounds.
Yeah, church hurt.
Yeah, and I want church hurt. That's a fantastic way to put it. Church hurt, and like I want to reach every human I possibly can, no matter where they are.
Yeah.
So do I? So again, to compress this down because I can be very long-winded, is my spiritual belief is growing, and my conviction and all of those things is growing, and I make sure that I'm adjusting to whomever I'm speaking to make sure that I'm able to reach them and that they can feel me first, and they can feel love first, feel presence first before I go into something like that.
Yeah. What about your own, like taking aside how you communicate God to other people, purely you and God?
It's a friend of mine recently, I spoke to him and I said the word religious multiple times. And he said, I don't like the word religious. And I said, really? What word do you prefer? And he said, I prefer the word relationship.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I had never heard it that way before. And his conviction was so high. And so the way I would describe my current experience of it is that I am growing and building the relationship.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's how I view it. I view it as a relationship with God. I think I was talking with one of my close friends, shout out Ling Yu, on Saturday night, and I said that if any organization or religion, if their sole mission is to try to convince you that you need to believe what they believe, that is based in ego. It's based in fear, and it's based in needing control and power.
Yes.
And that's why when I talk to people about God, and I realize that I'm imperfect, I realize that I don't know anything, all I'm doing is talking about my own experience, about what's been meaningful to me to try to help other people. That's all I'm trying to do. And I know I'm going to be imperfect and ineffective in it, but I'm doing the best that I can, and I find it personally meaningful, so that's why I do it. But my messaging is always, Alan, I want you to find God yourself. Realizing that you're going to find God very differently than I find God. Jesus will be consistent in that. But you're still going to find God and relate to God on your journey and on your path. We're all on different paths, but we all have the same destination, and that's home. That's God. So that's always my mission is, look, I don't want you to believe what I believe. I just want you to find God yourself.
Yeah.
So that's all that I have to ask you, Alan. Do you have any questions for me? Anything else you want to talk about, or anything?
What for you did you receive from this time together?
Every conversation we have is euphoric for me. So it was another conversation. It was a little different. We have a little bit of an audience, but I liked having this structured conversation.
Yeah.
Where we got to talk about meaningful things in our lives and deepen perspectives, challenge belief, in hopes of coming to a greater resolution.
Yeah.
Which I received, and I hope you did too.
I did. I wanted to say, just from the bottom of my heart, anybody who watched this whole thing, just thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You could be literally doing anything else, and if you're at this stage of the video, you followed it all.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Yeah.
So we can keep making more of these videos for y'all. I love doing this. Yeah. So if you guys enjoy it, please help me keep doing it by commenting, subscribing, and sharing.
Yeah.
So,
thank you so much for your guys' time and your energy and your focus.
All right. God bless. Happy Easter. He is risen.